Well, welcome everyone to our October opening reception and our artist talk with Greg Goodrow. And the name of his exhibit for this month is Seeking a Sense of Place. So we're going to talk about his artistry and his work that is around us. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And what I like to begin with, the question I like to ask people is, when did you know you were an artist?
Um, I took a lot of art lessons when I was a kid, and I had a lot of encouragement from my parents. But a couple of you in the room will understand this. I grew up in a small town in Texas, and the word artist is not really a word that kind of people don't really aspire to be artists. So it's like, I was a kid who liked to draw, and I'm sure my dad was not encouraging me to be a quote unquote artist. But I was kind of always into that as a kid.
What was something you created that you were particularly proud of at a young age?
Well, I was thinking about this because I did have a chance to go over some of these questions beforehand. So it's like, what's a good answer to that? And I had a really supportive art teacher in public schools I went to. And I actually had her as a teacher when I was in the fourth grade, the fifth grade, the sixth grade, the seventh grade, the eighth grade, and all through high school. So she had just started teaching when I was like in the fourth grade. And there was about 6 of us kids that she kind of adopted, and she followed us. She moved through the school system as our teacher. And she really shepherded a lot of us, or that whole group. One of the other people who was kind of part of that group became a very successful advertising executive. She majored in fine arts at the University of Texas. And then another person who was part of this little group of kids is a very successful mural painter who's done stuff all over the world. And this is in a town of 5,000 people, so it was pretty amazing. But when I was in high school, I did an oil painting of one side of the courthouse square in this little town that I grew up in. And she decided, well, we're going to put this in the Art League show in this little town. Well, that was an adult thing. That was not a kid thing. And I ended up getting best of show in that show. And it probably scared me, frankly, because all the adults were like, who are you? This is our show. But I think I was probably pretty proud of that. But my parents and my teacher were especially proud of it. So I really remember that event.
So with an event like that, why didn't you go to art school?
Why didn't I? Well, again, I think being an artist, that was just not the thing to do. So I went into architecture, and because for me, it was an either or kind of a thing. And my parents were, okay, you can go to architecture school. That's cool. You'll make more money. I'm not sure that was really true, but that's what I ended up doing.
So architecture is creative. What type of architect were you?
My background is in historic preservation. I always wanted to work on old buildings, and I think you can see these connections in my work, especially the paintings that are here. For some weird reason, from the time I was like 5 or 6 years old, I was fascinated by New York. And I was just fascinated by urban environments, buildings. And, I grew up in a town of 5,000 people. So it was kind of unusual. And so in that sense, people thought I was kind of always a weird kid because they would say, well, what are you going to do when you grow up? And it's like, I was like, well, I'm either going to move to New York or I'm going to move to New Orleans. And some of the folks in the room who are Texans really understand this because, you know, when you're from Texas, the first thing you get is, why? Why would you ever move out of Texas? Yeah. So a lot of people totally didn't get it. But again, you can see that in these paintings, you can see that it's my connection to New York. And it's also my connection to Texas because we still have property in Texas. And that property goes back to 1837. And, you know, the cows that I paid basically are the bovine descendants, I guess, of my great-grandparents. So all these connections still very much exist for me, and I think they're really reflected in my work. And I think that's true of most artists. You know, Georgia O'Keeffe said that you need to paint what you know and you need to paint what you like. And I think that is so true. Yeah.
This collection is interesting. You have cityscapes, you have beach scenes,
Right.
and there's some interiors, more cityscapes, and then you're hungry.
It's a Texas corner. Right. Exactly.
So, do you want to talk about each part as like a collective, like what drew you to the ocean? When you talked about what you were doing to cities, you like cities,
Right.
But let's talk about these seascapes for a minute.
Okay. I don't know. A long time ago, I never would have paid any attention to this at all, but I am a Pisces, and so I think somehow I'm always attracted to the water, and it doesn't matter where we end up. I'm always looking for wherever the water is. And again, some of you in the audience here, there are folks here who have connections to Bethany Beach or Rehoboth, or so if you live in this area, you know how that's just part of living here, and it's part of one of the really good things about living here that you can get to the beach relatively quickly. And soon after I came up from Charlottesville after grad school, I think the very first summer that I was up here, it was like, okay, you need to go to Rehoboth. And, you know, started getting involved in group houses and stuff like that in Rehoboth. So, of course, fell in love with Rehoboth, still love Rehoboth. And, still take pretty much every chance we could get to go. And so that's reflected here. It definitely. So what else?
Interiors. And I want to know about the two women dancing.
Right.
Yeah. Right. These other interiors. Talk about those.
Okay. Well, this is my chance, I think, to plug the Torpedo Factory, the Art League. After I retired, I started taking classes here. And as a result of that, I've really come to appreciate and I'm very thankful for this institution and what it offers to people who live in this area. For about 3 years, I took classes from about 5 different instructors here. And one of them was Jackie Saunders. Some of you may remember her. She taught here for many years. She just died, I think, 2 years ago. I think she was 83 when I had her. She was an amazing teacher. And up until that point, I was very comfortable painting buildings and kind of urban scenes because as an architect, you know, that's the kind of stuff you are pretty comfortable with. But I really wanted to paint people. Jackie Saunders taught a class here called Faces. What was it called? I don't know, painting faces or something like that. It wasn't like watercolor portraits. I mean, it didn't have a fancy title. She just called it like painting faces. And I took that class, and Jackie was such a great teacher that really through her encouragement and her ease of conveying, how to do it, I got comfortable enough that I finally started painting people. And that's really where these two behind me, they really come after that time, and that's something that I really love now, and I think as I go forward, I really I love painting people now, and that's really what I want to do, and I kind of attribute that to Jackie Saunders' influence here at the Torpedo Factory.
Where are these?
Yeah. These are both in a bar in New Orleans called the Spotted Cat, which is in Marigny. If some of you probably know, I mean, New Orleans is such a great jazz town. And the thing that's so wonderful about these places now, most of these places start up about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So for those of us of a certain age, you don't have to wait until 10 o'clock at night to go out. You go out in the afternoon. And also, nobody smokes anymore, so you don't have to deal with that. So that's really opened up, for somebody like me, it's opened up a whole new world. And some of you may know, I mean, these are kind of a pair. There's the piano player. He's in both paintings. And this is the same woman right here and right here. And she probably spent the afternoon there. She was really enjoying the music. She was very attractive. And we probably spent 3 hours there just looking at people. And I knew as soon as I saw her that, I'm going to paint this. Now, for those of you who paint, and certainly those of you who paint watercolors, you understand that a lot of what's really cool about watercolor is what happens accidentally. And both of these paintings have a lot of accidents in them. And that's one of the things that I love about them, because as much as I might want to, I will never create these again. You will never be able to do unlike oils, where you can wipe it off and keep working on it. Can't do that with watercolors. So it's like, okay, this is what it's going to look like, and this is the only time it'll ever look like that. And to me, that's what's really fascinating kind of about both these paintings. And, this show was planned 2 years ago. That's how far in advance they jury the solo shows here at the Art League. So, you do a painting and somebody likes it. You don't really want to say, well, you can't have it. I got to keep it for another year. But so that this piece actually sold, the original companion piece, over a year ago, actually. But I was always like, I'm not selling this one, because the chance that I would ever get some of the qualities that are in this painting, it's such a gamble. So I've always kept it.
So we talk about your process. Are you going around with a camera?
Yes.
Okay.
I paint from photographs. I do sketch. I do spend a lot of time outside. I don't paint outside. There are a lot of plein air painters. You probably figured out, some of you know me well enough, I do like to talk to people, so I can be easily distracted. It's very difficult for me to just sit outside and paint and ignore what's going on around me. So I'm basically a studio painter. And some of you may notice in some of these paintings, some of these photographs that I use as a resource material may go back 20 and 30 years ago. So if you look at some of the cabs, there